The remnants of the Russian military contingent from the most remote regions of Syria are being pulled to the naval and air bases in Tartus and Khmeimim, the Defense Intelligence of Ukraine reported. To remove weapons and military equipment from Syria to the base in Tartus, the large landing ships Ivan Gren and Alexander Otrakovsky continue their passage. They are currently in the Norwegian Sea and are scheduled to pass through the English Channel in a few days. The Russian dry cargo ship Sparta, which left the city of Baltisk, is also moving to the Syrian port. The Sparta II ship, which left St. Petersburg, is also planned to be involved in the removal of military equipment from the Arab Republic. Those Russians who have reached the evacuation sites, as a rule, get drunk and loot while waiting for their flight, the Defense Intelligence reported. Russia officially began withdrawing its troops from Syria, with both ships and cargo planes taking part in the actual flight. 9 planes arrived at the Khmeimim Air Base alone. 2 AN-124s and AN-72, 3 IL-76s and an AN-32. Apparently, Putin's generals decided that the dictator would not survive the loss of air defense systems, helicopters and other analogous scrap metal. Evacuation by sea is being carried out from Tartus. The Times correspondent in the Middle East, Samir Al-Atroush, follows a column of Russian troops communicating with enemy soldiers. He finds out whether they speak English. "Are you going to Russia? Are you going home?" the journalist asks, to which one of the occupiers answers in the affirmative. The column of troops includes cargo transport with infantry, infantry fighting vehicles, armored personnel carriers and SUVs. Syrian rebels have given enemy formations a couple of days to leave the country. The Washington Post published satellite images from Maxar Technologies and Planet Labs showing cargo planes being packed with people and equipment in Khmeimim. Recall the problems of the Russian army in Syria began on November the 27th, when the rebels began to advance on Aleppo. On December the 2nd, Aleppo fell, and on December the 8th, the rebel army took Damascus, marking the end of the dictatorship of Bashar al-Assad, who fled to Moscow. It was on December the 8th that it became known that while Russian soldiers were waiting for evacuation, their command was taking out trophies, high-ranking officials, officers and their passions. There is a real panic among Russian military propagandists due to the growing problems associated with the loss of control over Syria. Russian ZWAR correspondent Anastasia Kashevarova in her report states that there will be catastrophic consequences for the Russian military and the country's strategic interests. According to Kashevarova, Russian military bases in Syria are trapped. The Khmeimim base is surrounded by rebels whom Bashar al-Assad is in Moscow, and our military is stuck and blocked in Syria, Libya, Africa. Our bases are completely blocked. No one is allowed in or out. All transport routes are cut off. She is indignant. Tartus, the most important base for the Russian Navy, has been effectively abandoned, and ships with Russian troops are in the coastal zone. At the same time, transport routes for supplying the bases have been completely cut off, which puts the military in an extremely difficult position. Kashevarova expresses concern that the fate of the Russian military presence in Syria is being discussed in negotiations between Russia, Turkey, Iran and other countries. However, the prospects do not inspire optimism. If we leave Syria, the meaning of the Defense Ministry's Africa Corps is lost, as well as the strategic transport hub that provides access to Africa, the journalist emphasizes. Moreover, the loss of Syria will give Turkey the opportunity to strengthen its position in the European energy market, including the construction of a pipeline to Europe from Qatar, which will seriously undermine Russia's economic interests. Kashevarova points out that Russian military personnel at bases in Syria have been blocked, and their stay is limited to 75 days, according to the preliminary agreements. If the situation does not change, the contingent may be withdrawn by sea. Behind the scenes, fears are growing that Russia could become a bargaining chip in big geopolitical games. Syria is turning into an instrument of pressure on Russia to persuade it to capitulate on terms acceptable to Ukraine and the United States. Kashevarova believes Russia's withdrawal from Syria would be not only a military but also a geopolitical disaster. The loss of the Khmeimim base would destroy the ability to project power into the Middle East and Africa. It would also weaken Russia's negotiating position with the West, allowing NATO countries to increase pressure even further. Kashevarova's words reflect a growing sense of hopelessness among Russian propagandists. The loss of Syria could become a symbol of the global weakening of Russia's influence in the world and a serious blow to its geopolitical ambitions.
سامعك يا خلص طيب